This that I'm going to read began as a few lines I popped off in a Facebook post, and I came back to it because it really spoke to me. My eyesight deteriorated rapidly during 4th grade. I don't remember the time before when I took for granted an ability to see things clearly more than an arm's length away. The looping script on a bottle of Coca-Cola at the far end of the picnic table, the opening credits for Dark Shadows on our black and white TV, song labels on the 45s in the record section at Woolworth's. I must have inched closer and closer to whatever I needed to see, getting used to the blur without realizing that I was losing details, one edge, one shape, one letter at a time. But during that school year, my vision tanked precipitously. Memory is faulty, sure, but I know that in only a month or two, my teacher, Mrs. Livingston, who observed me peering harder and harder at the blackboard, moved me from the back of the classroom to the front, one row after another. Finally, with nowhere left for me to go but the eye doctor, she told my mother that I needed glasses. I felt like Mr. Magoo, and I hated that cartoon. My developing myopia must have hid in plain sight at home as I instinctively developed coping mechanisms and workarounds that let me pass, let me function amongst all of the 20/20s in my family, until that objective third party, Mrs. Livingston, saw me squinting like a cave dweller suddenly thrust into daylight. She knew what she was looking at, having witnessed over the years untold numbers of 9-year-old students developing or devolving into short-sightedness. I still have the first glasses I ever got, a pair of now vintage cat-eye frames with thick lenses that I eventually scratched all to hell in that time before scratch coating. An optometrist recently told me in all seriousness that I should enshrine them in a little shadow box, an artifact of my youth. I remember the car ride home after I got them, feeling their strange new weight across the bridge of my nose and behind my ears. It must have been late spring in Georgia where we lived. The trees were leafed out in glossy, fresh green, the ones that weren't pines at least. And Mama laughed as I hung out of the station wagon window, exclaiming with amazement at those leaves, the shapes of which I could, at long last, see. Street signs, power lines, crows on the chain-link fence by the airport, the Shoney's big boy. I had not fathomed the sharp precision of things, their edges, gradations, shapes, limits. At one point, we stopped at a traffic light, and there was me, still gawking at everything, because everything was new, because it was in focus. A man standing on the corner saw me, thought I was staring at him, and flipped me off. Or, as we said back in the day, he shot me a bird. All I did was laugh, though, and so did my mother. Decades later, umpteen frames and prescriptions and the inevitable bifocals down the road. As I remember all of this, I can still feel a physical thing bubbling up, that first overwhelming joy of clear sight.